So the adventure package is one of the strongest engines to ever make its way into the game, and so many people have forgotten what made it so great. The engine plays through hand traps, it helps you break boards, and it really just insulates your first turn combos. So what happens when we put it in arguably the best deck of the format? What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Cards and Coffee. Today we're going to be digging into the Adventure Kashtira deck. Right now, Kashtira is one of the most represented decks in the format, and for a good reason. There is so much room for tech cards, board breakers, you name it. Really, this one card combo deck has so many options in front of it, and that's what makes it so great. We're going to go through the card by card. I'll show you guys exactly what I'm playing and why I'm playing it, and hopefully by the end of this, not only will you guys get a feel for what makes this deck so great, but maybe by the end you might find a reason to put the adventure package in as well. But first, as always, guys, please go grab yourself a cup of coffee or something. That way you guys can sit down and tune in. Let's do this. Alright, so this format has turned out to be pretty diverse. We have Branded putting up some crazy first turn combo boards. Of course, you also have the Trap Tricks and the Labyrinth deck really stunning you out from playing the game. But then, of course, there's Kashtira not only being able to lock out all your zones, but it can also take the conservative route and just go a Rise Heart with some back row and pass. But if there's one thing I've learned about diverse formats, one of the best engines to really approach it is the adventure package. This is just one of those engines that really help you address a little bit of everything in the format, and for that reason, I really love playing it in this deck. But let's not waste any more time hopping into the deck profile, starting out with the Kashtira stuff. Of course, we're going to be playing 3 copies of Fenrir alongside 3 copies of Unicorn. Again, this is staple in every Kashtira deck. These are your starters for the deck. And in addition, of course, we're going to be playing 2 of the Rise Heart and 1 Scareclaw. This is all the Kashtira monsters I'm playing. You have to make room for the adventure package. But at the end of the day, I really feel like this is all you need, because as long as you get access to your starter cards, you can always recycle all these cards in the mid to late game. We're not playing Ogre or the other trap card, but that is something you could consider adding. But sticking with the Kashtira support, we are playing the 1 Terraforming to search our 3 field spells. And then again, after that, more standard stuff, 3 copies of Theosis alongside 3 copies of Birth. Some people have been messing with these ratios, at least in adventure builds. Some will play 2 Theosis or even 2 Birth. Of course, when you use the adventure package, you can't use the effects of monsters you normal summon, so it kind of conflicts with Birth if you're trying to normal summon a monster and use its effect. But personally, I still think it's one of the best extenders, and I just really want to see it at all times. And the same can be said with Theosis. Honestly, it's one of the best cards in the deck, and if I draw it, then of course I don't have to search it. But moving on to the last card in the Kashtira archetype, of course, the 1 Big Bang. I think this is all pretty standard and straightforward. There's some other ratios you can add and take away. Now moving on to one of my favorite engines in the game. Starting off with what really gets the engine going, 3 copies of Water Enchantress alongside 3 copies of Rite of Aramesir. This engine is so good in the deck. Not only does it insulate your first turn combo from stuff like Nibiru, but also when it comes to breaking boards, you also have cards like Dracoback that really helps with playing around so many things in the game. Whether it's bouncing Mirror Jade to prevent its effect from going off, or even bouncing something like a Skill Drain. I'm sure most of you guys know what this stuff does, but once you get access to the Fateful Adventure, it can search us some of the best level 7 monsters in the game. Everybody knows Griffin Rider. Of course, it's our Omni Negate, helps you play through boards, insulates the first turn combo. But one of my favorite cards in this deck is the Illegal Knight. Not only is this an interruption by bouncing your opponent's cards, but also one of the best board breakers at breaking the extra deck monsters that you might run into. All these cards are quick effects, so it's really easy to see how you can technically maneuver your way through boards. And worst case scenario, they are level 7, so if you only have access to the bare minimum, you can still make yourself a rank 7. This engine's so good in this deck. Now moving on to some of the non-engine supporting cards, of course. First, we're going to be playing 3 copies of Pot of Prosperity. This card is so insane in this deck, not only banishing some of the tech extra deck cards to equip to your Rise Heart, but of course adding so much consistency to this deck, really getting you access to your Kashtira cards, and of course getting access to your adventure package as well. For the last tech spell card we're playing, of course, 3 Book of Eclipse. I've been going back and forth between this and Book and Moon, but I just feel like this is way more impactful going second. Yes, it does lose to Ash, but the adventure package is going to bait beat that really easily. One cool thing about Book of Eclipse is it doesn't set tokens face down, obviously. If ever there's a point in your combo where you opened the Griffin Rider or the Illegal Knight, then once you're done doing your combo, you're going to search the other level 7 in the process. That way, once your opponent's trying to play through the board and you flip Book of Eclipse, you can always summon the other one from your hand because the token will still be on field. It isn't the most relevant thing, but it has come up time to time, so it's just one of those things to keep in mind. Now, speaking of Book of Eclipse, we got to have a counter to it. 3 copies of Ash Blossom. This also stops Branded Fusion, which is a very scary deck to go up against. Again, the Adventure Package helps with that deck as well. Just having another card, especially an engine, to negate Branded Fusion is really amazing. One of the glaring weaknesses of Kashtira is the fact that it has no Omni Negate, so by having something like the Adventure Package to really help you with that, makes it to where it's so easy to see why this engine has so much viability right now, and you really don't need to play 100 different tech cards in your deck. Now, I've been going back and forth on this last card in the deck, and I'm actually opting to play 3 copies of Lava Golem. At one time I was playing Kaijus, and another time I was playing Nibiru, but I feel like Lava Golem is that perfect middle-of-the-road card. So while adding all these other quick play spells that you could put in your deck is very useful, with this engine, really, you could just play board breakers and have a field day. One thing I love about Lava Golem and, of course, the Kaijus is that with the Adventure Package, you can also use Draco back to bounce it back to hand to use again. This makes for some really crazy combos for breaking boards, and of course, recycling cards so that way if your opponent does make a comeback, you have that answer right away. So that's it for the main deck, nothing too crazy. But moving on to the extra deck, I think I have a couple of cool tech choices, and again, by no means is everything here staple, but you might find that there's one card missing that a lot of adventure decks have been playing. For some of the 2-ofs, of course, we're going to be playing 2 copies of Zeus, 2 copies of Arise Heart, and 2 copies of Shangri-Ira. Just like every Kashtira deck, this is very standard, and there's really no reason to change these ratios. For some of the 1-of Exceeds, of course, we're going to be playing the 1 Diabolos alongside Big Eye, Draco Sack, and the Dark Arm Dragon. All these have their own utility, and of course, the Diabolos goes for your first turn combo. And while some players will opt to only play 1 Dark Arm or 1 Draco Sack rather than play both, I personally find that they each have their own application depending on the board state, especially with Draco Sack being able to out skill drain. Now, moving on to links, we're actually not playing a lot. We're only playing 1 Lingaribo, 1 of the Furhire, and one of my favorite cards is the Black Luster Soldier. Couple quick notes, we're not playing double Lingaribo. I'm siding the second one currently. If I happen to run into a game 1 and lose the die roll, then I guess I'm a little out of luck, but I do have the Donner just in case. Another notable card that's missing is the Cherubini. This card is so good at getting access to your Adventure Package. You can make it with Draco Sack tokens, which is just another crazy line this deck has. This line is really cool, but at the end of the day, I wound up cutting it because I find more times than not, if I'm going first turn combo, I don't see a world where I'm trying to get access to the Adventure Package. Really, it doesn't make sense in my eyes, but there's definitely some applications for going second. Just really being in a spot where you need that Adventure Package, it's really nice to have access to the Cherubini. And of course, Black Luster Soldier, one of my favorite cards right now. It's just so good against so many of these trap-based decks right now. So many players do not see it coming, and every time I drop it on the field, I see the shock in their eyes. This card's protection is basically equivalent to Dragoons, just without the Omni Negate. Trap Tricks and Labyrinth really struggle with a card like this, and as long as you're playing around cards like Skill Drain and of course like Lava Golem or Sphere Mode, this card could definitely win you a game for free. I guess the last note is I'm not playing the Infinitrack Link, but instead I'm opting to play the 1 Natis and the 1 Garura. There's a lot of times where you have the option to put everything on the field at once, and being able to equip these under your Arise Heart just in case makes it to where even if your opponent opens some crazy board-breaking combos, at least you're going to get to pop one of the cards and then draw another card for follow-up, making it to where next turn, hopefully we can break that board just as easy. So that's it for the deck profile. I really think Adventure is one of the best engines in the game, and it definitely has to be respected. So comment down below, is this something that you guys might consider going forward, or do you think just having the tech cards and playing the more conservative route is just the best way to approach the meta today? Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I really appreciate all the support. You guys have been saying so many kind things in the comment section, and we're almost at 5,000 subscribers. It really means the world. None of this would be possible without any of you, so I'm definitely going to have to do some kind of giveaway here in the future. Oh, and of course, a quick shout out to my sponsor, Next Level Anime. These are the guys that make the gear I'm wearing now and what I wear at events, and if that's something you're into, please go click the link down below. They have so many options available. Plus, if you use my code Cards&CoffeeTCG, you'll get 10% off, plus a portion of that purchase comes back to the channel, helping me make content for you. Once again, guys, thanks for tuning in. I really appreciate all of you, and here's hoping to see you guys on the next one. Peace.